Welcome to the Back to Nature Forward to Abundance Summit. And I am happy today to have Zelda Okia with me. Welcome, Zelda.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Zelda is a life and weight loss coach. And she is also her day job, shall we say, part-time job. She still remains working as a forensic pathologist.
Yes.
So I think she gets a real good look at what happens to folks and the importance of maintaining your health. Zelda, give us some tips. How can we maintain our health?
Sure. Thank you so much, Patrice. Thank you for this interview. Yes. So I work as a forensic pathologist. So I look at bodies from the inside out. And my primary work is to decide or find out why someone has died. And so that actually being in that work led me to life and weight loss coaching, which is I work in one of the wealthiest counties in Wisconsin. And it was around the time that I started that I was seeing a lot of these heroin overdoses in young people, teenagers, 20-year-olds. And it just really struck me that these were people who, quote, I guess, materialistically had everything. And yet here they were making this life and death decision to use drugs. And it just really struck me as to what actually would cause someone to make those types of decisions. And so I think just kind of that set me off on a quest to really find out what was most important to me. Where was I feeling unfulfilled in my own life? And so that led me to life coaching. And my mentor coach was actually a weight loss coach. Now, it's interesting because I didn't go to her for weight loss. My weight was starting to go up. I started working in my early 30s as a full-time, because I went to medical school and then residency and all that. When I first got my job, when I first started, I was still fairly active and doing things, but I noticed several years in, I was gaining weight. I was becoming more sedentary because I was doing hospital pathology at that time. So it spent most of my day was sitting, looking in a microscope. And eventually I developed a herniated disc and had to have surgery. And so that's kind of when I transitioned into forensics, where I could stand up because I was doing autopsies. But it really gave me a picture of a different perspective on life and on choices that people were making, which I didn't see that in the hospital setting, which was predominantly, diagnosing cancers and biopsies and things like that.
Right.
So that's really what opened my eyes to that. And then the weight loss, I was listening to the podcast of my mentor coach and I started implementing some of those changes. And I was amazed. I lost weight. I lost 30 pounds just by listening to her podcast and implementing some of those changes. And so I won't say it was easy, but I did lose the weight. And then she was also talking about the intermittent fasting. And I started to implement that. And it's interesting because one of the main things that she would encourage is to cut out sugar and flour. And at the time I would eat my morning cereal. That was my main thing. I would always eat cereal. And so I looked at the ingredients. I was like, oh, there's sugar and flour in boxed cereal. Well, I didn't see myself making eggs every morning and bacon or whatnot. So with the intermittent fasting, I was like, you know what? I could just cut out breakfast. And that's what I did. And then I don't have to worry about finding food to eat, avoiding the sugar and flour, because I eliminated that. And so that's really what inspired me to write the book about intermittent fasting, because I believe that's I've been able to maintain my weight now for over 7 years. And the number of people that lose the weight and keep it off is really low. I'm sorry, I'll keep talking. You want to jump in?
So you wrote a book.
Yes. Let me put it. It's still yet to come out yet, but it's called Intermittent Fasting for Busy Professional Women. And I know I've got the lights on there. It doesn't really show it.
So what's the rest of the title?
Yeah, so it says simple strategies to fuel your life, simplify your diet, and transform your health with ease.
Yes.
Because as a busy professional woman, so I'm a doctor, so I love coaching other doctors. But, our lifestyle of a busy professional can be crazy at times, especially doctors working, irregular hours, off hours. And so sometimes it's not convenient even to, prepare meals every single day, every night. You're coming home at different hours, late at night sometimes. And so it's so tempting to just grab something from the cafeteria at the hospital, which isn't always a healthy choice, or do a DoorDash,
Right.
And so, incorporating intermittent fasting along with a healthy diet, when I was, really preparing for the intermittent fasting and writing the book, I realized how important it is to eat those nutrient dense meals so that we're giving our bodies the nutrients that they need to sustain us during our fasting windows. And so what I also loved about the fasting is it was simple, right? Because I tend to eat the same thing all the time. And I have clients who are like, well, I don't want to eat the same thing all the time. But I said, well, what are like probably 3 or 4 main meals that are simple and easy to make, or that you could batch cook it and then freeze it? And then you just take it with you every day. So you always have something prepared. And so that's what I loved about the flexibility of the intermittent fasting. And while you're fasting, it does give you more energy. Because if you think about the hunters, the best hunters have to stay focused, right? They have to be aware of the resources and listening. So all of this brain fog, and, I also talk about like going into perimenopause and menopause. Many women have a lot of, symptoms from that, and they have to take hormone replacement. And I tell you, as I'm going into that, it's amazing. Like when I read about the things that people struggle with going through the perimenopause, I haven't had a lot of those symptoms. And I think it's because I changed my diet and I do intermittent fasting. It really helps to stabilize your hormones. And I can attest to that.
And that fasting, it kind of gives your body a digestive system like a break.
Yeah, time to rest and heal. Yeah, because I often say this with a lot of clients who eat it in the evening. Your body is supposed to be resting, not focusing on digesting. So when you go to sleep, let your body just relax and not keep having to work to digest when you're supposed to be sleeping. So yeah, it's totally in alignment with the way that our bodies work.
And that having like that nutrient dense food so that your cessation levels last longer and
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely noticed it. Like when I would go out to eat at a restaurant, I could easily go the whole next day without eating anything because they give you so much food, and it's fatty food, but you're not hungry. And so that's the other thing too with intermittent fasting. If you're not, I think for a lot of women, it's easy to cover over difficult emotions, negative emotions, to just eat our way through, or to stuff your mouth when you're supposed to be speaking. Your body wants to express itself and you're stuffing it down. And so when you don't have that, because you've given yourself more space, that you're not eating, you really learn how to tune into your true hunger signals and body signals, and learning what true hunger feels like, and how, just how it feels in your body, and how your body responds when it's truly hunger, and not just eating because of emotional reasons. It's easy to if you're hungry or angry or lonely or tired, those can all feel like hunger. And sometimes even happy moments, like when you're having a birthday party or baseball games, you may not even be hungry, but just because you're in that surrounding where everybody is eating, you feel obligated to eat. And that's one of the things I talk about too in my book, is about how do you handle, lunch meetings where there's food and, you're expected to eat, or even if you don't eat, how can you manage not, feeling uncomfortable? Oh, what are they going to think about me? And having those conversations and telling people, like, I do this because I want to be healthy. I do this because it feels good in my body. And so it's not about them. You're not like being judgmental. It's like, no, this is a choice I'm making for myself, and really explaining that to others so that they don't feel, if they don't feel offended, and they make you feel funny for actually doing it.
Yeah. With those signals too for hunger and tuning into your body, like I've heard too, like water and hydration, like it might be not food that you're lacking, it might be the water.
Absolutely. And I noticed this for myself when I am finished, because we don't have any water. There's no water fountain. Well, there might be a water fountain, but I don't really like the taste of the water because it's like well water where I work. And so I usually bring in my own water, but I notice if I don't drink enough water at the end of the day, I can easily feel ravenous when I get home. And I have to remind myself, no, Zelda, drink. Like, have at least 2 large glasses of water when you get home before you eat anything. Because just the habit of coming home and eating is so ingrained that I've started to I have to pause and ask myself, is this really hunger, or am I just thirsty? And the same thing when I'm fasting. Sometimes when I drink, now I typically drink water while I'm fasting. Now, I don't know if some people do a full, fasting is different, and there's many different ways of approaching it, but I drink water, and I've even added electrolytes. And sometimes I notice just adding those electrolytes to the water allows me to tolerate the fast much, much better. But again, that's on a longer fast, which I really don't do over 24-hour or 48-hour fast. Definitely talk to your doctor. I want to reiterate that too. Like, talk to your doctor, because again, depending what medications that you're on, depending on your own health situation, before you get into fasting, especially if you're going to do over 24-hour fast, definitely, just kind of get the okay from your doctor, or at least let them know what you're doing so that they can advise you, and you don't, get into, not eating enough too, because obviously if you're already nutrient deficient and then you attempt to fast, then you're depriving your body, and then you will start to notice maybe some muscle loss and things like that. So there is a way to fast properly so that you don't lose muscle strength. And especially as I'm getting older, and as we all get older as women, we lose muscle mass. Just naturally, our bodies start to lose muscle. So definitely incorporating exercise and strength training, that will also help to maintain your health and your strength.
I want to backtrack here a little bit, and like we just mentioned intermittent fasting, but people might not really understand. So you also said here proper fasting.
Right,
so
right.
Can you maybe go into that, like what it actually entails?
Yes, yes. So intermittent fasting is really just timed fasting. So timed eating windows, but being intentional about when you eat. And really, that's the main thing. Some people will just change their fasting, and they'll just have periods of time where they're not eating. And then they'll have an eating window where they basically eat whatever. Now, I personally, I cannot eat whatever, and my body doesn't tolerate, a lot of these, refined sugars and flours, and I'm very mindful about what I eat, but I am always conscientious about fueling my body with the proper foods. So there's varying windows. So the typical window of an intermittent fasting is to have an eating window of 8 hours and then a fasting window of 16 hours. That's typically well tolerated by pretty much everyone. But to start with, you might so normally, let's say a typical window would be you stop eating at 8 p.m. and then you have your breakfast at 8 a.m. So that's a 12-hour window. And the majority of the time, you're sleeping, right? So you don't even really notice, well, you should be sleeping. So you probably don't even notice that you are fasting, but that technically is a fast. If you don't eat within that time frame, that's fasting. And so to begin with, you might just extend that a little bit. Maybe you don't eat breakfast till 10 o'clock, or maybe you stop eating at 6 p.m. And so then you can get into, maybe then that's a 14-10, where you have a 14-hour of not eating and a 10-hour window when you do allow yourself to eat. But then there's also one meal per day. So some people just eat one meal. Now, for me, I eat lunch. That tends to be my biggest meal. So then at lunchtime, I will eat a good sized lunch. I usually will eat a salad, but I have protein in there. Sometimes it's fish, sometimes it's chicken. I put nuts in there. Don't eat dairy. So I pretty much stay away from the dairy. I like seeds too. I use hemp seeds, but also chia seeds. Those also have protein. Mushrooms also have protein. So it's finding that combination of foods that really boosts up your protein so that you're sure, because many times if you are eating in this way, you want to be mindful that you're getting your macros as well as your micronutrients. So I also, I supplement, I take my B100 vitamins, and I take some other supplements too, moringa, other things like that. And then for dinner, usually I'll do a lighter dinner. So maybe I won't even finish my entire salad. I mean, I bring a big container salad, so I may not eat all of it for lunch, and then I'll eat a little bit, or I'll eat the rest of it for my dinner. But so dinner is typically lighter for me. But some people will only eat once a day. For me, that's a little bit harder. I like to at least have 2 meals. And then there's also a 5-2 fasting. That's also very common, where you'll eat normally for 5 days, and then for 2 non-consecutive days, you'll fast. And that could be a 1 meal a day type of a fast, or I don't know, maybe they don't eat anything at all. So that's what I actually like about the fasting, is the flexibility. So you kind of get to decide what works best for your schedule. So like for me, normally, like I said, I don't eat breakfast. But if my husband, if we're going out for a brunch, he likes to have brunch at like 10 o'clock. So then I can vary my fasting window. Maybe I will eat dinner earlier the night before, because I know that I'm going to be eating breakfast the next morning. So that's what I really like about it, especially for a busy professional woman, is the flexibility that's already built in.
Yeah. And it was the actual intermittent fasting that made for you for the weight loss. And also you mentioned like for the brain fog and the being more brighter, sharper, because it's that talking about like the hunters, it's they're hungry, they're very alert. And if you haven't eaten for 16 hours, you're going to...
Yeah. And ketosis, they talk a lot about ketogenic diet, but that ketosis actually it helps your brain. They actually treat some epilepsies with a ketogenic diet. Now that's a very stringent ketogenic diet, but it does help your brain. And then fasting is also said to release this brain natriuretic protein. So there are there are more and more scientific studies coming out that show the benefits of fasting. And they also have fast-like diets. Now, I haven't really gotten a whole lot into that, but they are working to create diets that actually make your body respond in a way like you are fasting. But they are, again, typically very low carbohydrate diets that just fortify your body, help your body to become more fat adapted. When your body is used to utilizing fat, that's when you really get when you really can see the benefits of fasting, and not just in terms of weight loss, but yes, weight loss, because then your body adapts to utilizing the fat stores that are already on your body. And that's what enables you to go for longer periods of time without eating. So then there's another section in my book too, where I talk about traveling. If for many jobs, there's traveling, overseas travel. And so when your body is adapted to going for longer periods of time without eating, then if you have layovers or time changes as you're crossing time zones, your body learns how to handle that better because eating is not an emergency.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. So your book again. So this is soon to be released?
Soon to be released. And I am, getting some beta readers out there. Beautiful. And I even have a journal. Now, this is a journal for the other book that I did called Eat Happier. But I do have an Eat Happier journal that I'm finishing this up too. Oh. Yeah. So this one asks the question about what specific time of day trips you up on your weight loss journey, and then is it breakfast? Is it brunch? Is it dinner? Or is it lunch? And I came up with that because breakfast was my most difficult meal, and so I just eliminated it. So the Eat Happier journal.
All right, that's beautiful. And if people were wanting to get hold of you or contact you, do they have a way with your life coaching or?
Yes. So my group, I have a weight loss group. It's zeldaokia.com/join. So easy to remember. zeldaokia.com/join. And zeldaokia.com. That's also another my website. And then in Facebook, it's Zelda Okia. Instagram at Zelda Okia. LinkedIn.
Yeah. Spell out Okia.
Oh, Zelda Okia. Yeah.
spell it out. So.
Oh, Zelda Okia. Yes. Zelda Okia.
There we are.
You can Google Zelda Okia.
And you'll show up. All right. Well, this has been fabulous. I really appreciate that your valuable tips. And folks, it could be as simple as intermittent fasting.
Amen. Oh, let me see. Let me just say the subtitle again. Simple strategies to fuel your life, simplify your diet, and transform your health with ease.